Get the latest Zacks research, analysis, and rankings on exchange-traded funds in Exploring ETFs. Let's see if we can't nail down the differences between ETFs and ETNs now with our ETF Research Director, Nina Mishra, who's going to explain exactly what those differences are. So let's just start right with the basics. What are ETNs, for those who don't know?
So within the broader exchange-traded product space, ETP space, most of the products are exchange-traded funds or ETFs, but there are some exchange-traded notes or ETNs also. And many investors think that ETNs are similar to ETFs, they sound similar too, but there are certain key differences because of structure of ETNs, which I think investors should be aware of, and they need to take those differences into consideration if they decide to invest in ETNs. Now, key difference is due to its structure. An ETN is a note. It is a promissory note issued by a bank or a financial institution, say JP Morgan or UBS, and it is a promise to pay the equivalent or to match the return of an underlying index less fees and expenses. So the issuer says that I'll pay you the return of this index less fees and expenses, and being a note, it does not hold any securities, unlike ETFs, which actually hold securities to match the return of the index. This is just a promissory note.
So are there risks associated with ETNs?
Yes, as it is a debt instrument, it carries the credit risk of the issuer. So if the issuing bank were to go bankrupt, then the investors may or may not receive their proceeds back. They may receive full proceeds, they may receive partial proceeds back, or they may receive nothing. Now, I'm not saying that these big banks, JP Morgan or UBS, they have any risk of going bankrupt anytime soon. They are in much better condition now than in 2008, better capitalized, better risk management levels, but they are not risk-free. So credit risk is always there if the issuer were to go bankrupt.
Okay. Any other differences we need to be aware of?
Yes. Since they are debt instruments, they typically have a maturity date, which is generally 30 years from the date of issue. And some of these notes also have a call feature, callability, so the issuer can call in the notes even before the maturity date. On the other hand, ETFs are perpetual instruments. They don't have any maturity date and no risk of callability.
What about benefits?
Yes, obviously, because there are some risks, so
there have to be some
benefits, otherwise then investors will not buy these instruments. So main benefit is elimination of tracking error. Since exchange-traded notes or ETNs do not hold any securities, they do not buy, they do not sell any securities, so they match the return of the index, less fees, perfectly. On the other hand, ETFs actually buy and hold those securities to match the return of the index. Now, sometimes index is comprised of too many securities, like say 2,000 stocks. So it is not cost effective to buy all those stocks. So the exchange traded fund sponsor will buy only certain stocks, say 400 or 500 stocks, through a process called representative sampling. Now, because of this process, there is some difference between the return of the ETF and the return of the index. That can be positive also. I mean, ETF can outperform the index or it can underperform the index, but it does not perfectly match the return of the index. So on the other hand, ETNs perfectly match the return of the index. Another benefit is also related to its not holding any securities, because it does not buy, hold, sell any securities. ETN structure is generally more tax efficient than ETFs, and more specifically in certain asset classes like commodities or MLPs. For an example, the MLP ETN, the largest MLP ETN, AMJ, it's very popular because it matches the return of the index, whereas the MLP ETF, the largest and most popular MLP ETF, AMLP, it has significant tax issues which result in a large tracking error between the return of this ETF and the return of the index. So in certain asset classes, I would say like MLPs, holding an ETN is more beneficial than holding in ETFs, though I generally recommend ETFs only.
Okay. Do you own any of the ones you just talked about here?
No.
Okay. There you have it, the basically nutshell approach to ETNs and the differences between ETNs and ETFs. Hopefully that helps you understand them a little bit better. With Nina, I'm Terry Ruffalo.